actually identify what this underlying theme is, so that we have something tangible.
Chris marker.
Yes.
It's like Satsile.
Question how you make a collection is it's a good tool for them to live here, to study art or the other people, a legacy.
I asked this question because what interests me is that in the end we are in an art space discussing about art, which is an agent for social change, but we end up talking about art. So it's again art talking about itself.
From one side we have a pop, a classical idea of art, but from other side we have a conceptual, contemporary and modern idea about art. And this is the real idea that is very important for the evolution of art, and this is the idea that, for example, Maurizio Cattelan follows with his artistic production, if you want. And this is the first artwork, and this is very, very interesting.
Like I want to make these artworks resonate somehow, use them to as a vehicle to express a content, a message, something I want to say.
About this work and this sort of process of, like, as I understand it anyway, of deleting the identity of the subject here and creating this new opportunity for different identities by connecting these images. At least that's how I understand it. It gives me an idea, more of a framework for the work that I want to do. So for me, this has like been a bit of a clarification.
And because it's elitist, how it works, the artwork. But why our role shouldn't be to undo this process, to flip it back, to go back to where people will be go like, you know, now I understand, you know, to this place where we share something in common with everyone, you know. So maybe this idea is
No, but this is a more, I guess, a more desirable outcome.
Exactly, yeah.
Instead of being like from the get-go very critical of it, it's almost like giving it a chance to redeem itself in that sense. Could be. Yeah.
But I think we're assuming though that people are just not going to understand. Whereas if we're actually presenting it to people, I think maybe we will be, who knows, surprised at how people connect with it. Because really, I mean, it's just as honest for somebody to have, for me to have my reaction to this work and Eamon to have his and ours to be totally different because we're constructive of different beginnings too. So in some ways, like, I think contemporary art enables this kind of personal engagement. I think where it's problematic is when and I'm totally probably speaking out of turn here, but I feel like sometimes the artist gets so wrapped up in making the art and it being completely like an egocentric kind of process that people can't relate to it.
Exactly. Why we don't undo this thing? Why don't we try to undo it?
But I think this process...
To emancipate this process.
But I think this process of presenting the works to get people's opinions is a way of starting to do that.
We are literally at a position where collectively, working in harmony, we can do most of the things that, and take the responsibilities, which in the past have been attributed to the great deities of the past.
One work in my hand. It's one of the works that I have chosen. And my idea for this work was to add another element. Like we have 1, 2, 3 elements. And I wanted to add a dice. So it's because of the chants that has brought together in this story the priest and the growing of the mice. And I think that it's a chance that this has happened by chance. So I wanted people to participate in it by throwing a dice. Any number could mean something else or add meaning to this work. And second work I was thinking at was this work, where you have the two paint brushes and where this person got shot by bullets. So to me the paint brushes take away the meaning of the real pain, and so I wanted to play on this and do the word paint and then blinking pain, and then sometimes paint.
About the FRAC collection, looking at it right now, this is actually the first time I'm seeing the FRAC collection in these boxes. It kind of reminds me of the themes I'm dealing with in my own project, which is different layers right now. I haven't combined it into one piece. Probably be like a film essay or something, but after visiting the Egyptian Museum, which apparently has the most prestigious collection after the museum in Cairo. But there are all these mummified bodies and the Sphinx, and I think obviously, one has to question what is public heritage and what does it mean for museums in the global north to have all these kind of treasures stored in their museums. So one is really interesting. It's this entire section, and it says the tomb of the unidentified man.
I think it's precisely this idea of the role now. What we're arguing about, essentially, whether it's this or in other things that might be seen as part of this overall exhibition, which is being discussed in galleries around the world as we would see it. You know, I would hazard a guess, not having been to Documenta, that this is present in Documenta as well. This conversation has been going since we sort of hit this process of modernism, of a kind of conceptualization of what is the wealth of the idea and how do we trade on ideas. So that what's precipitating economic collapse now is the trading on the idea, the derivative, the concept that maybe something will fail. You can make capital of this. But if suddenly everyone realizes that all they're trading in is ideas and all the ideas disappear, you're left with no money. And this is a question of crisis.
Yeah.
So what are we trying to do? It was all your fault that we're here.
On the FRAC, I think that what would be honest would be to use the pieces of work in a way that allow people to interpret them how they will. And in my mind, that interpretation, yours, mine, theirs, hers, it's all valid. It all is, any meaning we assign to this work, that's what it means. I mean, to try to get people to understand that Tobias Boucher was, oh God, I can't even read it, but you know, was trying to talk about disconnected narratives or whatever. I mean, we can do that, but we would have to assume that we understand what the artist was thinking when he made this piece of work, and then B, we would have to craft a response to this work that depicts our assumption. So, I mean, by that logic, we could just throw this piece of work in the garbage and start new. So I think what's smart is to take these works and to put them and let people just form their own opinions of them. And maybe we gauge their success as a collection and their success, if we can use that word, in and of themselves based on people's intrigue and interaction with them.
I think we are exploring also a system which is an established system in the sense that we are not trying to interrogate art as workers of the art system, but we really interrogate the artworks as normal spectators. Until now, it has been done in a really professional, traditional way, which is a curator presenting artists and works under the umbrella of a concept. So every curator, let's say, used some of the works to express a concept, a curatorial concept. In this sense, we are not working in a traditional, successful contemporary art context way, but we try to connect with the mechanism of making art and to construct sense, meaning through a project, which is a series of photographies, a performance, an installation, and so on.
When we got to the funny situation where we realized the notion of size. What we felt we were dealing with was enormous. What we had in our hands was very small. So where does this question or this idea of the mutability of size, up or down, come from? That's when I thought of the bank. Because really, what's biggest at work in this is value. We've pushed across all this money across a table so that we can say, dear people of the Piemonte region, you own this little artwork collection bank. We are rich. Art has enriched us, and yet in that exact enrichment, the best thing that art does, which is usually to work in some sort of gift.
Let's rephrase it, that maybe I'm facilitating the connection of the collection with a group of artists and trying, and we are together trying to give a sense to these artworks. And in a way, which is not maybe the very traditional way artworks are normally displayed in exhibition spaces.
Something to show it just exactly as it is in here, in the boxes, and start questioning why we are doing this, why we are showing this for, what we want to do with all of this. I don't know, Dosita, you need a frac? So all these issues that we were discussing as a group, addressing them.
And then from those, you're kind of saying, well, the translation is to, there's something about connection, which I can't find it anywhere.
Communal.
Oh no, you just talked about the exhibition limits. The limits of the exhibition, right? To just exhibit it is a limit,
Yes.
and it's a closed thing. So that's also, I think that's what, yours is mostly these. And then bringing the work outside, that's into that too. And then I think there's still a kind of redemption sort of idea in there a little bit, I think. But at least you can sort of tie the network together. Say, hey, that's how I want to weave my way through it. You know all the other stuff exists, but at least you've got like a pathway to presenting. And that's why, whether it's a documentary or not, that's the kind of story that each one of us is going to tell about each of the works. And then we just push them all together in a new, we've got to make a publication. This is the thing. Whether it's a book or a film or a lecture or to generate, to ask these questions is also to then say what we think we found out. And then someone else can decide at some point if they agree or disagree.
The artworks. So like, is it like, I'm most concerned about the fact that we haven't spent any time with the artworks or in the artworks or like, and I don't understand why videos about us, like these are 8 pieces of artwork and the artworks carry all these threads of meaning or politics or whatever they are, like those are already really interesting in the works, and I don't, like maybe that's, if that's what interests me, that's the work I do, and this is the space for it, but I don't understand, the artworks have nothing to do with the rest of it. They're just like props, I guess, which is fine, but then that is what the exhibition's about, is the aboutness of the collection and the inaccessibility of art.
I think it also depends on how this video will develop. It's a kind of strange creature which needs to take a shape. But I also think that I would like to know from you why you chose everyone an artwork and what did you see in it?
Because, you know, you can live in Biella your whole life and know the issues at hand, but see them the same way always. But when somebody else comes and does some sort of formal research or whatever your method is, to understand the place, the perspective you present is always going to be new to the person who's lived forever. Or at least, I think, you know, good work will present a new perspective.
You're in the universe. Like, think of everything you can think of. The reason I'm really interested in art because, see, I put all the instrumentalization you've talked about, the functionality, into design. Like, we're asked all these goddamn questions about fucking art. At what point did you question the chair you're sitting on? And say, are you looking after me the best I can? I mean, it's doing okay. Like, is that chair doing a better job than this one?
Well, this work by Sebastian kind of appealed to me visually. I think it's, I don't really know what it is actually about, but just from the visual point of view, it appears to me that it's like the eye of the artist represents an immigrant's eye, because when I look at it, it's two screens. It's sort of it seems like a mirror to me for the audience to think about, you know, these fleeting moments, something that's not concrete. You know, there's this idea of distance, and I think the work is speaking about this loneliness that immigrants have. That's just a feeling I get from this film, and for some reason it appeals to me.
Good. Is it a frag collection? Okay. And we saw it on the English card.
You looked that one?
I have, yeah. And I don't know. What should I say?
Say different things. Maybe one thing to start was like, so you quite like this work. You've been watching it.
Yeah, I like. And also I really like to find more information about it, because there's quite some talent. And don't know. I just maybe I can't understand clearly our position, what we are doing. I mean, what is our conception? Because we have all these works, and we decide, okay, we want to do something by ourselves, not with these works. But anyway, we work with this collection, and for me it's a strange situation, because it's a lot of works, and everybody chooses one,
But it's not a concept. I mean, it's not a concept by a creator.
From that place, it all is this incredibly creative act, and you can do anything and you can play any way you want to. But the place we share is the place that stands nowhere. Not the place that's caught in these spirals that involve intellectual advance or now we know it, so on. That's all like little ripples on the ocean. And don't you want to keep everybody right at the edge of the form and the formless? Because that's where the ultimate act of creation is.
UniDe, University of Ideas, for me is the pumping brain for Città dell'Arte. Definitely it's not only a residence affair, although of course it's their own program, because it very much attracts and contaminates and hopefully transforms the other structures or organs of Città dell'Arte. Well, the FRAC collection is like an external agent in our body. It's like a virus that is connected to a different environment, an environment that is producing artworks mostly related to an art system, connected to the art market, connected to the galleries and the collectionists and all that, which has got little to do with what we are working on in Città dell'Arte. FRAC also is a bridge to the territorial system, and mainly the big authority, political public authority, that is the Piedmont region, and who has created this project, and who didn't know how to develop it further,